Hi folks, DC here, DC's Gadgets. Today is the 5th of May. Over the last 2 days, some things have happened which prompted me to make this video blog. First thing is, yesterday I went out with another club member and we removed the feral colony. It was in a tree, it was hanging on a branch. And I'll add some pictures in here. We went out there, and before we ever left, we had a plan. We talked about this. He went out and looked at it, found out where it was, and we came up with a plan. The plan was to go out there with 2 ladders, an empty trash can, and some loppers and a saw. And the objective was to cut the branches off with as little disturbance to the bees as possible and get them all in the trash can, close it up, and take the whole thing back to our club yard and work the bees there. So that was the plan. So we formulated the plan, we worked the plan. We got out there to the site, looked at it. The bees are really nice. I mean, really nice. Set 2 ladders up. I mean, exactly as we planned it, it went, and it couldn't have been more perfect. Got up there on the 2 ladders, plopped off the branch, put them in the trash can, took them to the yard. I didn't even get stung doing all that. I got stung in our yard. One of our own bees stung me when we brought that box in the yard. So we got back to the yard, we hung the branch from the ladder off a couple straps, started cutting off the comb, putting the comb in frames, looking for the queen. Just everything was going according to plan. So as we put several pieces of comb in some frames, I think it was 6 frames, maybe 5, I don't know. Put comb in frames, decided we're going to shake the bees through the excluder. So threw a queen excluder on the box, put another box on top of that box, took the branch, started shaking bees in. In like 30 seconds, we both spotted the queen running around there trying to get through the excluder. Big, fat queen. She could hardly fly. Grabbed her, took her to the truck, stuck her in my own little marking cage, stuck a big white dot in her back. And I know white's not the color for the year, but I don't care. I'm colorblind, I can see white real easy. So put a white dot in her back, stuck her in the box, stuck her feet right on the comb, put a queen excluder on the front, queen excluder on the top, shook the rest of the bees down in the box. We threw a jar of honey sugar on top, or sugar water on top to feed them overnight. Threw another box on top of that whole thing to cover it, put a cover on it, left. An hour later, all the bees are out of the box, they're hanging on the front of the box. Odd, very odd. It'd make you think maybe the queen's not in there. It was rainy, I didn't feel like going back last night, so I was out this morning. I had to move a beehive this morning before it got sunlight, so I moved the beehive this morning at 6:30 or thereabouts. Took a picture. All the bees are still hanging on the front of the box. Maybe they were in an upper entrance. I don't know. Pop the lid, look down, and I can see like maybe 20 bees hanging out right in front of the queen excluder. So my thought is the queen is down there and the bees are, cluster on her. Nothing on the frames. All right. Threw an intercut to a bottom board on top, upside down, on a queen excluder on the very top of the box. Threw a lid on there, so now they have a top and a bottom opening. Come back about 3 hours later, 9 o'clock. Came back at 9 o'clock. They're still in front of the box. So I posted up on the Facebook group about beekeeping. I got a lot of responses. Most of the responses are your typical response to what they see, because we see certain things, we have a preconceived notion of what we're looking at. We work with bees, especially when you work with bees for a while, they do certain things, you expect certain things. The problem is, bees don't always do what we expect them to do, and sometimes we just don't know what they're doing. So, there was a picture, was out several years ago. There's a couple of skeletons sitting at a picnic table with beer mugs, beer steins. And the caption is, "We're going to sit here and drink beer until we understand women." Well, I think the same can be held true for understanding bees. Any beekeeper who claims that they understand bees is lying, because we don't understand bees. We think we do. We understand some things, but not all of it. So, reading the posts and the feedback, and I really appreciate the feedback and the posts, and sometimes we overlook the obvious. I got a lot of obvious stuff, but the thing that stood out the most was the fact that nobody else really knew what was going on either. We're all in this kind of together in this aspect. So in the process of this whole thing, I formulated a plan. The plan was to go back and check the box, make sure the queen is in fact in the box, and shake the bees inside the box and then lock them up inside there, kind of like a package. You know, put a grid across the entrance and a screen on the top, and upside down cover, ventilate it, make sure you have ventilation, and just lock them in there for one day, see what happens. That was my plan. And after church, I walked back and looked at the bees, and they're in the box. So go figure, you know, strange thing. Okay, at the same time, while this is all going on, there's a post over in the South Texas Beekeepers Association. Girl posted on there how she's got 2 queenless beehives that she's trying to salvage, and she gave them some brood and they didn't make queens. And so I went through that last year. One of our club colonies lost a queen. First thing we did was I had a virgin queen come out of the incubator, stuck her in there, come back 10 days later, can't find her. So we gave them a frame of brood. They did nothing. Well, like 4 days after we gave them the frame of brood, we checked it, nothing in there. So again, I had another virgin queen come out of the incubator. So I went back there second time, gave another virgin queen. 10 days later, again, nothing. One more frame of brood. And we got to the point where you got to ask yourself a question: how many resources am I going to invest in saving one beehive? You know, what's the cost versus the gain? And we put a lot into that one beehive, and then after the second attempt with the frame of brood, we came in there like 2 weeks later and we got laying workers. And I mean, I can't guarantee that's what it was, but when you look in a bunch of cells and you find like 12 eggs in each cell, all over a frame like that, I think it's laying workers. We ended up shaking the bees out and just dismantled the beehive and went on. So the whole aspect is we gotta have a plan. There was a movie, The Hunt for Red October, great movie. I love the movie. There's a scene in the movie where I can't remember the guy's name anymore. Anyway, the commander of this naval ship says the Rusky won't take a dump without having a plan. And most of us go through life, we don't have a plan. How many times have you driven to work and you get there and you can't remember the drive because you're on autopilot? Most of our days, we don't plan anything. We kind of get up, we run on autopilot. I think the same works out to any aspect of life. Sometimes we work our bees, we're on autopilot. We don't have a plan. You gotta have a plan. When I open my beehive up, if I don't see eggs and larvae and brood, I need a plan. And for the most part, I do. For my bees, I've come up with some plans. I pretty much am at a point now where, depending upon how big the colony is and how bad I want to save it, I may put a single queen cell or a single virgin queen in one, or I might move a single frame of larvae or eggs, or I'm just going to shake it out. I mean, I've come up with those. Those are my decisions. I am not going to spend weeks trying to salvage one colony at the expense of another colony. So these are things we got to plan ourselves. And it depends on how big your yard is too. How many beehives do you have? How big is this beehive that you're trying to salvage? You know, what's the production versus the losses? So those are questions you got to ask yourself. I mean, in the situation with this young lady in Texas, I mean, I don't know how big her beehives are. Now, if I had 2 beehives and I tried giving them brood frames and they did nothing, I would probably shake them out. Or I'd throw newspaper on top of some strong colonies and stick them on top of the newspaper and let them merge through. Or worst case scenario, I shake the whole thing out in the middle of the yard and then put those brood frames in some strong colonies and let the bees figure out where they want to go. And those are the options I've come up with. Other options, something you might try, last ditch effort, maybe try to make some queen cells. Pull a couple of brood frames from one of your boxes, stick them in a nuke overnight, give them some grafts. If they start making queen cells, you can put all those bees back in the box they came from and put the queen cells in your queenless colonies and see if they finish them out. Then you're not actually losing resources. There's a lot of videos on cell builders and cell finishers. You can put together a cell builder, take 3 or 4 frames out of one of your strong colonies, stick them in a nuke box, throw in some grafts or a strip of cut comb with eggs and larvae in it, leave it overnight, and they'll start making queens. And you can put that single frame in your queenless colony. And so you're not investing the full resource. You've moved them for 1 or 2 nights and then put them back in your colony. I might try that one time. But the whole thing is you got to have a plan. You can't go through life without a plan. You can't go through beekeeping without a plan. So you got to think about these things beforehand. Now, some things we can't plan for, like this instance with the beehive we took out Saturday, that they're doing something you don't expect. You can't plan for that. So, but you take information from other people, you collectively evaluate the problem, and then come up with a plan. But you have a plan. And if you have a plan, you're going to fail. It's this old adage, fail to plan, you plan to fail, same basic thing. So come up with a plan, work your plan, good luck.